Welcome to this week's rant from the workshop, because we still haven't got the conservatory sorted out. But before we get into this week's rant, which is entitled I'm a Hashtag, we must observe normal parish notices. So, if you enjoy seeing videos about this sort of stuff, hit the subscribe icon. If you want to be notified when videos about this sort of stuff hit my channel, that's the bell icon. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, put comments down below. I do read them, I do respond to them, and sometimes I make a video about them. Down there also is the TMTG community address for the price of less than a cup of coffee. You can support the production of videos on the channel. Now that's a deal. Also down there are the Facebook and Instagram feeds. That's where channel notices apply. But now back to this week's rant. Oh. Yes, it is Sunday evening, and I've actually just been doing a video about this thing, hence the reason why it's on the desk, and I can use it to lean on. So why is this video entitled I'm a Hashtag? Well, what was very interesting this week was we all went back to work. Well, I say we all went back to work. I mean, I don't know what it's like wherever you live in the world, but in the UK, we've gone back into lockdown. And originally we had 3 tiers of lockdown, then we had a 4th tier of lockdown, and now we're in tier 5 or whatever it happens to be, which is the most severe version of lockdown, which basically means that, you know, if you go outside your house, you're liable to get fined by the police. It's not quite that draconian, but they're trying to stop people moving around the country because this new variant of COVID-19 is so transmittable that it's spreading like wildfire, to the point where I don't know whether I've said on the channel, but I now live on the south coast, sort of kind of in the Brighton area, and my mum lives in London, and I haven't been able to go see her since before Christmas, and I'm not going to see her now because London apparently has a infection rate of 1 in 20. The country as a whole has an infection rate of 1 in 50, and where I live in London, well, where I live in England at the moment, I think we're under 1 in 50. But you know, I'm not going to go up to London and risk infecting my mum, who is quite old. So, anyway, going back to the story. So, we've all gone back to work this week, and on one of the conference calls, we were talking about the channel, and somebody said, well, you know, what's your channel name? And then he said, you're a hashtag. I'm sitting there thinking, what does he mean by I'm a hashtag? And apparently, if you type in hashtag the Music Tech Guy UK, you will find my Instagram feed, you'll find my Facebook feed, you'll find my YouTube channel, you'll find my Tumblr account, and I think you'll find my Pinterest as well. But you effectively find all the social media feeds for the channel. And I was like, that's quite impressive. So we tried another one. I tend to, when these things are published, I tend to publish them with 2 hashtags. One is the Music Tech Guy UK, and the other is Music Tech Guy UK, which I actually own the websites for both of those addresses. And what was really interesting about that was both resolved back to my channel. So I've obviously officially become a hashtag, which means that it's probably easier to find me now than it was a little while ago. Well, that's all good news because the channel is growing. The channel has surpassed 2,100 subscribers. It did that actually before Christmas, and we're virtually, if I'm honest, as of today, at 2,200 subscribers. We haven't quite made it there yet. But the community is all about, you know, you guys watching the videos and leaving comments and feedback and ideas for the next set of videos that I might do. So the fact that I'm now a hashtag and I actually resolve in the Google register means that I'm doing something right. Or am I doing something wrong? Not really sure. But this rant is not going to be a long rant. So the first thing is, I've obviously, I'm quite chuffed that there's a moth or something. I'm quite chuffed that that the hashtag now resolves. That was probably quite a lot of hard work over the last few years in terms of making sure that things on the channel sort of kind of ran right. So I'm a hashtag. Brilliant stuff. The second thing I wanted to talk about is this arrived. Actually, it arrived between Christmas and New Year, and it's one of the first things I've grabbed from the desk inside and said, "Okay, just talk about this." Now, anybody who has ever owned a DX7 knows what a pain in the rump they are to program. You have to get your head into the whole concept of how frequency modulation works, which is how the synthesizer generates its sound. And those that follow the channel have seen the fact that I have a D-Tronics programmer, which is in storage, unfortunately, at the moment. I do want to go and get it out of storage, but given where we are in lockdown, the storage company have said that they are not open at all. So I can't even go there with my mask and my 2-meter cane and pick stuff up. So unfortunately, I did want to do some videos with the DT. I keep calling it the DT 100 or 1000. That's the programmer for the D50. It's the DT7. I don't know why. It's for some reason it's in my head that it's the programmer for it's the 100. And it's not. It's the 7. Yeah, that programmer is for the D50 and the D05. And I have a PG 1000 that works amicably for both those platforms, so I don't need that programmer. But anyway, so I've got a DT7. I've been meaning to do a lot of videos with the DT7, and I just haven't done it. Time, all the other stuff, about it. I'm not going to repeat it, and it's now in storage, and I can't go and get it, which is a pain because I do actually have the DX7 here. And I was going to do a series of videos on it, and then realised I didn't actually have the DT7 here, which is a pain. Anyway, this arrived, and it claims to be easy programming the DX7. Now, the DX7 is a complex beast, and I have a book about that thick, which I always refer to as my DX7 Bible. And pretty much, if it's not in that book, it's probably not worth knowing about the DX7 in terms of how it generates sound. But what I did like about this book, if you like, is it does actually go through. I mean, it kind of spends the first few pages talking about, selecting voices and what the buttons mean and stuff like that, which is kind of good. But it's with the DX7, I have to be honest, and some of this stuff is obvious, some of it's not. But it does talk about the general controls, which is laid out in a very, very good way. I'm quite impressed with the layout of this. It's simple, it's easy to follow, so it kind of meets the easy criteria there. And it talks about RAM cartridges and moving stuff from RAM to ROM and all that sort of stuff, which is actually, for somebody who has never really played with the DX7, actually this is quite a good book to try and get hold of. Now, originally it was sold in the US for $9.95. It was published by Yamaha Music Foundation, and it's got an ISBN on it of 0-881-88-452-9. I suspect you will not be able to get this in publishing, but you could search some of the sites. One of the good sites to search actually is the Amazon book thingy, because they actually have lots of lots of sellers who sell these sort of things secondhand. And I've picked up quite a few music instructional type manuals from that the Amazon bookseller thingy. Okay, But what I did think was interesting was it actually goes on to start explaining about the operators. And while it's not an in-depth explanation about the operators, it is actually quite informative. So this one's all talking about attack and decay. There you go. Okay, so it's not a bad book actually if you want to start getting into programming the DX7. And then the other thing it then starts to do is it then starts to talk about actually adding things to, for argument's sake, this one is all about adding a tremolo to the DX7 organ. So the stack organ, this is how you do the tremolo. And it walks you through doing simple operations like that, adding a wah wah to a synth lead, adding changing the brass 2 to reverse cymbal sound. So there's a number of things there. Editing out the fifth from piano in fifths, if you want to do that. So it's got some sort of standard sort of hacks that are actually quick and easy to follow, which I quite like. So there's a number of those sort of things in here, and then we get on to sort of going to the back of this book, and it then says, part 3, new voice data. So 20 new voices. So there is the program data here for these new voices. So it tells you how you need to set the operators up. So there you go. There's the operators set up. It's probably not brilliant in terms of the lighting. There you go. And also which particular elements you can change. Now, this obviously is assuming that you're going to go in and change it through the screens. Now, what I was going to do, the video I was going to do, was going to take one of these and actually set it up on using the DT7. Just to show how quickly you can actually modify a sound on the DT7. But since the DT7's not here, I can't do that. But I thought it was worthwhile saying that if you have got a DX7 and you'd like to understand a little bit more, and you haven't got the complete DX7, which is the sort of book that's about that thick, then this is probably not a bad place to start. And on that note, I'm going to say sayonara for now. Live long and prosper, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.